This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Ohio. I am here with the Growth Owl. Since 2018, they've been empowering clients with best practices and tools to generate funding, sponsorship, and support. I am joined with the founder, chief principal, Lori. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Let's talk a little bit about yourself. You were formerly educated with a bachelor's and an MBA from Baldwin Wallace University. You went
Yep.
on to later teach at that same university. You have held many positions in the past, from regional director of marketing, director of digital accounts, interactive media, and corporate support. Nearly 5 years ago, you launched out to share all your knowledge to connect purpose driven organizations to revenue and resources. Share with me a little bit why you decided to launch out and how this all began.
Yeah, so like you said, I started Growth Owl LLC back in 2018, and it really came from my love of actually connecting nonprofits to corporations and their resources. So before I started Growth Owl, I actually spent a good 10 years with PBS and NPR. And a lot of people don't realize that PBS and NPR actually share developmental and fundraising resources at some of the local stations. So it was myself, and I had a team of about 8 people that would go out and we would find funding primarily from corporations. And we were very successful at it. And we were calling on Fortune 1000 corporations. And we had, I don't want to say an easy time at it, but we kind of got into the groove. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if we could take that same concept and institute that for other types of nonprofits, associations, startups, anybody who's a purpose driven organization. So, although I absolutely love public media and I still work with a few public media stations in my work, I actually love working with nonprofits, associations, and other purpose driven organizations, and left public media to help those types of organizations connect to Fortune 500s, Fortune 1000s for revenue and resources.
What a great story. I mean, quite honestly, a paper Rolodex could not hold all your contacts. It needs a a digital database. I'd love to see that. I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot.
my dad always taught me the money is out there. You just got to
Hmm.
find it. Would you say
Agreed.
even today, after the halt in business in 2020, are funds still available? And do you just got to know where and how to ask for it?
Absolutely. You know, it's funny, while we were all thinking about COVID-19 in 2020, US News and World Report did an article about the number of Fortune 500s that were hiring chief diversity, equity, and inclusion officers, chief accessibility officers, chief sustainability officers, and arming them with budgets to spend in the community and nationally. So, a lot of people might think that trying to find funding and sponsorship really just comes from marketing. That's not true. And 2020 really showed us that. So, I really think that really looking at organizations that have strong areas in DEI, sustainability, accessibility, community engagement, corporate social responsibility. To your point, there will always be resources there. It's just, how do you engage them? And that's kind of where I come in. I also want to say that although there's a lot in the news about things going on in corporate America that's really crazy, maybe has people scared, I have to tell you, in terms of corporate philanthropy, corporate CSR, those other areas I told you, there's still a lot of hiring going on. There's still a lot of healthy budgeting going on that nonprofit purpose driven resourced type of organizations can take advantage of. So don't be scared. You just have to try.
That is definitely hopeful to hear. I mean, for over 2 decades, you've been known for establishing pathways quickly to exceeding revenue and fundraising goals. Most probably see your work as monetary. Yet,
Mhm.
for you, how important is building relationships, and is that really kind of the cornerstone to your success?
Absolutely. Relationship, that's everything that I do. I spend a lot of time working with my clients on that initial engagement. How do you reach out to large corporations, even if you're a 1 or 2 person nonprofit, or you're a $135 million nonprofit or association? The way my techniques are to reach out are the same. So a lot of that is really getting to know your decision maker before you even make that initial contact, through things like LinkedIn, reading the annual report, all types of different tips to take a look at someone before you make contact. If you make that initial contact right, that's going to fill in a foundation that's going to serve for an ever growing, everlasting relationship that's going to last for a while.
Excellent. I mean, you teach not only building relationships, but really building them quickly. To do this,
Yes.
you need high performance teams. Are teams what you can help these organizations really set up and maybe even fine tune?
Sure. So I'm brought in a lot to help with purpose driven organizations to help them find the types of talent that they need to reach out. Some people would call that sales, account executive, fundraiser, corporate sponsorship executive. But I'm also doing a lot of work with executive directors and presidents. What I'm seeing now are senior level leadership and the C suite getting much more involved in fundraising and finding sponsorship, which I think is amazing because I think generals like to talk to generals. So when I'm connecting these organizations to very high level C-suite or SVPs in these corporations, it's important that the right types of people are talking to each other. So we take a look at all of those nuances in order to make best impact.
That is interesting. Making sure your top people are out on the line as well, engaging. Obviously, they know the mission of the company. You have held key positions. I mean, really with PBS, NPR, the DAC Group, Clear Channel, City Search, so many more. For those who trust you, you not only meet expectations, but you outpace them. You exceed them. To continue this record pace, do you sometimes handpick your clients to work with who are purpose driven? And what does that mean for you? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so that's the best part about being an entrepreneur. I can choose who I work with. That didn't always happen when I worked on the other side, right? So I think a good match in working with me, it's not so much about size of organization, but what is it that you need? Do you know what you need? Having a clear idea of what you actually need. Do you need, people will say, of course, I need money, but sometimes you might need partnership. Sometimes you might need different types of resources that aren't just monetary. So, knowing what you need is very helpful to get a really quick jump start on things. So, that definitely is good. To me, a purpose driven organization is usually someone that's like a nonprofit, a social enterprise, an association. It can be a for profit if the whole idea is they want to do good. So I have all different types of clients who, at the end of the day, want to do good and really help in the community with engagement and resources.
So you want to make sure that basically they're a good fit for you, you're a good fit for them. I mean,
Yeah.
like any industry out there, would you say there is a right way and a wrong way to seek funding? I mean, how important is it to only utilize the best practices and tools to generate funding? And is that what you really strive to do and improve every day?
Yeah, so I have my own techniques that work for me and work for my clients. I like to encapsulate them with a term I called MIMI-MO. And MIMI-MO stands for aligning your mental, your message, and your motion, your action. So everything that I do in terms of philosophy, in terms of training, in terms of the work I do on behalf of my clients, falls under bringing together that MIMI-MO. Now, other people might do it very differently and they're very successful, and that's great. I think there's different ways to do this, but based on my experience and the success that I've had with multi-million dollar organizations, I think the proof is in the pudding in that there's a little bit of a recipe to success to what I do here at Growth Owl.
I would say your secret sauce is definitely working. You can see it with all the different companies that have trusted you. I mean, your way becomes more than just teaching to ask for funds, but really positioning themselves to generate funding and resources. How is your training done? I mean, is this done on site, online, or it can be a combination of both?
It's a mix of all those things. So, as we talked about earlier today, Zoom has become such a major part of our infrastructure when we're working with clients. So, I still do a lot of work on Zoom. I will go visit if, travel is necessary from the client. They want something in person. We could definitely do that. Also do training at different types of conferences. So that's kind of a neat hybrid way of bringing professionals together and doing training there. So yes, I'm very adaptable to training delivery based on what the client needs.
I mean, some of the best programs that we, the public, benefit from, I mean, they're sponsored, be it public radio,
Yeah.
nonprofits, or many other associations. What about those startups who hope to provide value to the public? Are you able to help them also as they're getting started?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you really made that an individual question because I think the biggest issue with startups, these are very passionate people who have a really good idea And sometimes they don't know how to communicate it effectively in a boardroom. Either they say too much or they're saying things that people don't understand. So that's where I come in and my team comes in. We work with them and really create a narrative for them that's going to be successful in order to connect, to keep them moving through that corporate cycle.
That is exciting. That probably is something near and dear to your heart when you're
Yes.
able to take somebody from an idea and really see it go out there and launch. Obviously, your focus is assisting those that are seeking funding, but what about the corporations who want to align their brands and community engagement resources with purpose driven organizations? Can you match them up for really a two-sided win-win collaboration?
That's a great question. And yes, I have done that before. You would be surprised just because people in corporations are extremely busy. I try to help people understand that what might be a priority number one for you at your nonprofit is a priority 15,165 for somebody that you're talking to at a corporation. So if we look at the corporation's perspective, sometimes they just need help figuring out what's the best way they could be a good corporate citizen. Should they be donating funds locally? Should they be thinking about things more nationally? Should they get really niche specific? Should they get into small companion animal rescue giving or food bank giving? I mean, there's so many options. So yes, it's a great question. I do work with corporations often because sometimes they get just confused and overwhelmed by options, just like a purpose-driven organization would get confused and overwhelmed by options of potential partners and funders available.
So many variables out there you're able to match up to make sure that
Yeah.
it's a win-win on both sides. I mean, your background and experience is anything but ordinary. As the author of the Boardroom Playbook, was it
Yeah.
important for you to share your not so ordinary guide? And what will leaders learn as they read that book?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, everything in the book starts with the Mimi Mo, that mental message in motion. But I have so many practical tips. First, I'd like to say, because I'm a big proponent for brevity, the book is quick. It's only a little over 100 pages, so perfect for today's attention span. But it really has a lot of great uh, tips and a lot of great direction as to how do you reach out to a corporation? Who should you be reaching out to? What do you need to do internally in terms of your mental work to make sure you're really in a good frame of mind to be reaching out? What type of research do you need to do? And once you start getting into the process with a corporation, how do you manage expectations internally in your own organization? That's something we spend a lot of time on. And then finally, when you get to those really big moments, if you're not used to pitching in a boardroom, it's been a while for some of us if we've been just been doing Zoom. What are the key components of that? What are the little things, the props that you need? So I cover all of that and I have a lot of great stories in it as well. I like to say names and industries have been changed to protect. But all of my clients know I was writing it and they were very grateful and very helpful in putting that together.
What a powerful resource you have for folks right there that they can find and get right on your website. I mean, you have been a regular featured speaker and a panelist for many professional organizations.
Mhm.
You have been profiled by national media and been a featured guest on national podcasts. You have earned the world's only accredited certification as a certified fundraising executive. As you continue to serve clients both locally and globally, does this continue to be rewarding for you?
Oh, absolutely. If it wasn't, I wouldn't do it. I think that what's great about being an entrepreneur in general is that there's a different challenge every day. And I'm the type of person that does not like to do the same thing every day. I like a different challenge. So I have all different types of clients with different types of needs, and that keeps me going. And when I hear a success story that maybe a little tweak that I had offered up in a 1 day session, or a big success story where someone got their first six-figure ask because of training that I did with them, it melts my heart. It just makes me want to come back and keep doing more for other organizations.
Well, you've now been a guest on CNTV, and we thank you for that. I was definitely excited to share your story. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her website. On the website, you can see all the services she provides. Check out her impressive list of clients and connections. I mean, you can watch her informative videos right there on her site, as well as find her book on the site as well. You can basically book her as a featured speaker or a panelist. Simply reach out today. and schedule up a call. If your organization has a purpose, you deserve funding. The Growth L, connecting purpose-driven organizations and startups to revenue and resources while empowering clients to generate funding, sponsorship, and support. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.